Hello there, I'm Heidi Adams in for Esther Gitchewi-Hewitt. Welcome to Africa 54. Here is what's coming up. The postponement of Senegal's upcoming presidential election pushes the West African nation into uncharted constitutional waters. Kenyan cult leader Paul Mackenzie and 29 associates are charged with the murder of 191 children. And in our health report, cervical cancer can be prevented or treated, but it must be diagnosed at an early stage. All this and much more coming up in today's Africa 54. And we begin in West Africa, where Senegal's parliament has voted to delay the presidential election until December 15th. It was a chaotic voting process that took place Monday after opposition lawmakers were forcefully removed from the legislative building. Lawmakers had convened to deliberate on the election delay bill. This follows a decision by President Macky Sall to postpone the vote, initially scheduled for February 25th. David Doyle has more.
Opposition politicians attempted to block proceedings on Monday as Senegal's parliament voted to hold a delayed election at the end of the year. It's a move likely to provoke further backlash and unrest.
This is not possible. They're stealing from the population of Senegal.
Tensions are high in the West African country after President Macky Sall's unprecedented announcement at the weekend, postponing the February 25th vote.
Abrogeant le décret.
On Monday, lawmakers were discussing a bill that initially proposed rescheduling the poll to August 25th and keeping Sall in power until his successor is installed.
Du corps électoral.
But by the evening and just before the final vote, the legislation was amended to propose the even later date of December 15th. It passed by 105 in the 165-seat assembly. That's despite around a dozen opposition lawmakers rushing the central dais and refusing to leave.
Senegalese people, you have in front of you the enemies of the nation. They will ask for a contrary opinion on what has just been done. This is a constitutional coup.
Security forces intervened to allow the vote to proceed. Outside Parliament, around 100 protesters were voicing their anger. Police fired tear gas, chased demonstrators into side streets, and made arrests. This protester said Sall should not be meddling with the constitution.
Macky Sall respects neither Senegal nor the Senegalese people. He is here for himself and for his personal interests.
Sall said he delayed the election because of a dispute over the candidate list and alleged corruption within the constitutional body that handled the list. However, some opposition and civil society groups have angrily rejected the delay and accused Sall of trying to postpone his departure. The F24 platform, a large group of organisations behind past demonstrations, and candidate Khalifa Sall have labelled what's going on as an institutional coup.
David Doyle of Reuters reporting there. Well, joining me now is Professor Rama Salahaddin. She's a lecturer at Edinburgh University in Scotland and joins me from there. Dr. Dieng, a warm welcome to Africa 54. I'm looking at the situation in Senegal, and I have to wonder what President Sall said last year, that he wouldn't stand for office again. His critics are now saying this announcement smells like a power grab. Are they correct? I mean, is this the president going back on his word?
There are every reason to believe that President Sall is going back on his promise not to run for presidency, because how can we justify that after all the lengthy process of ratifying and confirming the presidential candidates, the 19 presidential candidates that were to run, that on the very day, the eve of the day that the presidential election is supposed to start, that President Macky Sall makes an announcement, a surprise announcement from his personal social media account to announce that, without ever saying the word, it was a very cryptic message to say that the constitution, that the election was reported because of a supposed crisis involving the Constitutional Court, as you have just reported, corruption allegations, the binationality of presidential candidate. So people are saying it is no longer even the case of Mawahon Wahed, like President Wad did. Like I said something and I'm not keeping my promise. It's a matter of I wrote something and I'm coming back on what I said I would do. So I think there is worry, there is anger, there is anxiety, because this is unprecedented. And what guarantee do we have that once comes December, the elections will be held as promised by the president? We have no guarantee.
Dr. Dieng, we have less than a minute here. What does this mean for Senegal's image, though, as a democracy, as a stable democracy in a very volatile region?
I think the image of the region, the image of Senegal in the region has been undermined several times, once and again. It's not the image that he wants to project as the reformer. There has been several allegations of corruption with the oil and gas sector involving the very president, the very brother of the president. We have also had several acts of police brutality committed by the president. We have seen internet shutdown. We have seen a crackdown on the rights of journalists to report. Many young people, many young protesters are in prison, as is one of the presidential candidates. So I think when it comes to the image of the Senegal, this is not a first. It has been a while. It's not. Since May 2021, we have had several acts of violence committed by the police, committed by the Macky Sall regime, several breach of in the social contract that links them to the civil society.
We'll keep following this story. Dr. Dieng, thank you very much. Dr. Rama Dieng there. She's a lecturer at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. Moving now to East Africa, where Kenyan cult leader Paul Mackenzie and 29 of his associates were charged on Tuesday with the murder of 191 children whose bodies were found among more than double that number buried in a forest. The defendants are all denying the charges. However, one suspect was found mentally unfit to stand trial. Prosecutors say Mackenzie ordered his followers to starve themselves and their children to death so that they could go to heaven before the world ended. More than 400 bodies were exhumed from the Shakahola forest. Namibia's Nangolo Mbumba says he has no plans to run for election at the end of the year. Mbumba took over as interim president on Sunday after former President Hage Geingob died in office. But the country's ruling Southwest Africa People's Organization, or SWAPO, has already nominated a woman as its candidate, Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah. Up till now, it was widely expected that Namibia could see its first woman president should SWAPO win this year's election. But it might not be that simple. VOA's Paul Ndio spoke to Bernard Mulongeni, former Director General of the Namibian Broadcasting Corporation and a senior ruling party member.
I must say that I'm quite pleased, and I must congratulate the leadership of Namibia, particularly the leadership of SWAPO, who handled it. They handled this process of transition very, very smoothly and maturely. You and I know very well that in situations like this, too often a crisis can occur and confusion and violence can erupt. But in Namibia, we are very, very, very happy that we are mourning our president peacefully, and no any incident of violence, of any funny movement happened here. And we wish, and I believe that that will continue till we send him, to put him to rest.
You talked about a smoother transition. What does this mean going forward? It's a new president, it's a new mandate. The party had already had its own elections. You have a party leader. What happens next?
What happens next at the party level? The constitution of the party provide for the extraordinary Congress. And I heard that the Politburo set yesterday to discuss, to instruct the Central Committee of the party to call and organize an extraordinary Congress where the position of the president have to be contested. So it's the case is now, the vice president can stand for that position, or any other person in the party can stand for that position, including those who lost out in 2022 election for the position of vice president. Now, what will happen in the event the party congress takes place within 3 months from today, as we speak? If anybody can stand, even the elected president or the acting president, the possibility is that he may also stand to become the substantive president of the party, at the same time acting president of the country, which will put himself in a very strong position because he's the boss. Or any other member, senior member of the party, may also contest. What if he emerges victorious in that Congress? Are we still having the vice president who was elected at 2022 Congress as automatic candidate, or now, or we say no, the president is senior?
I thought that the constitution of SWAPO, in a way, has made it clear. It was almost an automatic thing for the current vice president to literally take over once everything is settled.
Being a vice president did not say, the constitution did not say you are the automatic candidate. Perhaps it's maybe because of the precedent had been set from the first president, Comrade Nuyoma and Pohamba, who were not contested, because it's an issue. If we agree, there's no problem. If we don't all agree, then there's a problem. So that's what, there are different views to that among the SWAPO members, particularly those who aspire to be president. It's not a given yet. Wow. So it's debatable.
And that was Bernard Mulongeni, former Director General of Namibia's Broadcasting Corporation and a senior ruling party member, speaking to VOA's Paul Ndiho. The Khartoum Emergency Room is a local group that provides shelter, food and medical supplies for the people affected by the war in Sudan. An estimated 12,000 people have been killed in the conflict that has been raging for 10 months now. But some are doing what they can to bring hope and comfort to those who have escaped the war and have come to the United States. And one of those people is Hanin Ahmed. She is one of the founders of the Khartoum Emergency Room. And Hanin joins me here in studio. Hanin, a warm welcome to Africa 54. It's great to have you here. Tell me a little bit more about what motivated you to start the Khartoum Emergency Room.
Hello, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. What motivated me or motivated my colleagues in the youth networks on the ground to start this room or initiate this room is the commitment and love of Sudan and its people as well. We are people on the ground. We are seeing or watching our people dying in front of our eyes. Even they are facing a lot of challenges like security challenges, lack of protection, lack of reaching food and water and even electricity and networks on the ground. So that's why this is the main reason that led us to initiate these rooms.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of the things that people need right now?
As I mentioned, the first of all, they need the security and protection. They need food as well. Right now, we are going to face a famine, maybe in 2 months or less than that. We also need services like electricity, like a network. Yesterday, the RSF, they cut internet from all over Sudan. So it was hard to reach people on the ground and follow up with them about the situation.
And of course, one thing that is out of reach, and that is peace that people need as well. But Hanin, what impact has your organization had? I mean, what are people telling you about how it's changed their lives and their circumstances?
Okay, we had a great impact on the ground. I can give you an example. A week ago, we evacuated 800 people from a stage between SAF and RSF in Fetihab, Durman. Unfortunately, we lost around 10 persons during the process. But at the end of the day, we succeed to evacuate them to a safe place. We also had providing a lot of kind of services, like we provided a protocol, a rape protocol for rape cases. We evacuated one of these ladies from Khartoum to Kassala, and we provided a rape protocol, we provided a psychological support, and we also provided a job for her after she recovered. So this is a great impact seen in type of person and the community as well. We also have a soup kitchens, so it's kind of psychological support and trauma healing in the ground.
Well, you do wonderful work, and I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for coming in and talking to us about it. Hanin Ahmed is the co-founder of the Khartoum Emergency Room. Well, it's time now for our Africa Cup of Nations update. Let's check in with VOA's Alvaro Andrade, who is in Cote d'Ivoire, where all the AFCON action is happening. Alvaro, tell us what's coming up in the next part of all this AFCON action.
Hi, Heidi. Tomorrow we're going to have the semi-final. 2 games in Bouaké, South Africa, Nigeria, and here in Abidjan, DRC, Ivory Coast. But today the big news is concerned with the best African soccer man the last year or this year, Victor Osimhen. He's injured and he didn't go with the team to Bouaké. It's a major concern in the Nigerian team. The team medics confirmed right now that he has placed under close watch with a member of the medical team, and he's staying behind in Abidjan. Now, Nigeria said on Tuesday on the social media platform X, the coach José Peseiro said today is going to win with or without Osimhen. In the press conference in Bouaké, José Peseiro says, and I quote, "Once again, we played without conceding, scored the goal, but I would have liked more. The team could have created more opportunities to win South Africa." Bafana have grown in the tournament after opening 2-0 defeat against Mali in the group stage. Now the South Africa finished second in their group thanks to a goalless draw with Tunisia. We are very happy and motivated that tomorrow we play the semi-finals of AFCON, said the captain coach Hugo Broz. He said for him, now the AFCON is a success for the Bafana. On the other side, here in Abidjan, the Ivory Coast is confident, the coach is confident, the Ivory Coast is going to win tomorrow, and DRC are ready to beat the Ivory Coast. But in this moment, the Ivory Coast has in a good position because he has the support of the fans here in Abidjan, and maybe tomorrow is going to be prepared to beat DRC, but DRC is a strong team, Heidi.
Well, also a strong team, Alvaro, is Bafana. You being from Cape Verde should know that probably better than anyone. I know I don't want to rub salt into the wound here, but all the best. Thank you so much for your great coverage. We really do appreciate it. Alvaro Andrade is reporting for us there live from Abidjan in Cote d'Ivoire. Well, still to come here on Africa 54. Our health reporter, Lenore Mudu, will focus on cervical cancer. Don't go away. We'll be right back. This week on Straight Talk Africa. Protests in Senegal. Police have fired tear gas at opposition supporters in the capital of Dakar. President Macky Sall has announced the indefinite postponement of the presidential elections, which was set for February 25th. Is Senegal's democracy now hanging by a thread? And in Namibia, Nangolo Mbumba, who took over as interim president after Hage Geingoob's sudden death, says he's not going to run in this year's elections. What's the future of Namibia's Liberation ruling party? Join me, Heidi Adams, and my guests for in-depth analysis on the next Straight Talk Africa. Well, in other news, Kenyan police say they have arrested the main suspect, Derry Kimati, in connection with last week's deadly gas blast that triggered a huge fireball in a densely populated area of Nairobi. 6 people lost their lives in the disaster and around 280 were injured when a truck loaded with gas canisters exploded in Embakasi, southeast of Nairobi. At least 11 villagers are dead in attacks blamed on the Allied Democratic Forces group in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. That's according to local officials. The ADF, a militia linked to the Islamic State group, launched raids in several villages in the Mombasa area of Ituri province on Monday morning. And Spain's Marine Rescue Service says more than 1,000 migrants from sub-Saharan African countries have arrived in Spain's Canary Islands in 18 boats over the past 3 days. The Canary Islands archipelago off the northwest Africa has seen a surge in migrant arrivals in recent weeks as more people from West Africa attempt the dangerous journey in search of a better life. Well, it is time now for our health report, and joining us right here is Africa 54's health correspondent, Lenore Mudu. I'm a bit tongue-tied today, but Lenore, what do you have for us?
Hello, Heidi. Hello, everyone. Well, cervical cancer is one of the most common cancers in women worldwide. Zambia has one of the highest rates in Africa after Eswatini and Malawi. Authorities say more than 3,000 women are diagnosed with the disease and almost 2,000 die each year from cancer. Kati Short reports from Lusaka in Zambia.
Karen Nakawala, a public figure and media personality, survived cervical cancer 4 years ago, but many of her friends have not been that fortunate. She's the founder and executive director of a non-profit organization, Tio Sisters Foundation Zambia, aimed at fighting cervical cancer and giving hope to affected communities and survivors. The organization also encourages more women to go for early screening. Nakawala's Facebook page, which has more than 130,000 followers, promotes discussions on cancer and offers support and advocacy. Nakawala, who is also a WHO advocate, does not shy from speaking about sexuality on air as she strives to encourage communities in a country that is still conservative on such matters. Reports indicate that some men do not allow their wives to go for screening due to myths associated with cervical cancer.
We are able to break the silence around cervical cancer by using people like myself and the other survivors that we have. Two Sisters has a lot of survivors. So if we use Two Sisters, that's an opportunity for us to show people that, you know what, cancer is, yes, it is a deadly disease, but it is curable.
According to the World Health Organization, cervical cancer develops in a woman's cervix. Almost all cervical cancer cases are linked to infection with high-risk human papilloma viruses, or HPV, a very common virus transmitted through sexual contact. When diagnosed early, cervical cancer is one of the most successfully treatable forms of cancer. Rebecca Siambwati, a cervical cancer survivor, says she was scared when she was diagnosed with the disease 5 years ago. She sought support through Tio Sisters Foundation. She also underwent free chemotherapy treatment at the country's only cancer diseases hospital in Lusaka.
Because in the community, when somebody is diagnosed with a cancer, it was meant that somebody is going to die. So I was thinking a lot about my children, leaving my children behind. So it wasn't easy for me. Not at all. There was no payment that was made on my treatment. It was just a free treatment. So I was very happy because I didn't have money to pay.
Dr. Catherine Mwaba, head clinical and radiation oncology section at the Cancer Diseases Hospital, told VOA recently that overall, the number of new patients seen each year varies from 2,700 to 3,000 for various types of cancer. There is only one Cancer Diseases Hospital catering for a population of 20 million people. Many patients have to travel long distances to access treatment. Zambian Health Minister Sylvia Masebo announced recently that plans are underway to build 2 more Cancer Diseases hospitals in various parts of the country. Dr. Chuma Njovu, Zambia Medical Association's chairperson for research and education, emphasizes the need to strengthen vaccination campaigns, especially in rural areas where there are more cases of cervical cancer.
We need to focus on prevention. So this is what has to be pronounced strongly we have to strongly look at prevention. Prevention comes at different levels, so it's primary, secondary, and tertiary. But at the moment, we should focus on primary and secondary prevention, where we emphasize on vaccination. This program has been rolled out already.
Zambian authorities, with support from the World Health Organization, WHO, have rolled out a national strategic plan based on the UN's 3 global cervical cancer elimination strategy. The UN strategy focuses on vaccinating 90% of Zambian girls against the human papillomavirus, or HPV, screening at least 70% of women, and building capacity to ensure that 90% of women diagnosed with precancerous cells or cancer receive treatment. For VOA, I'm Kathy Short, Lusaka, Zambia.
Dr. Tafadzwa Dzinamarira is the country director for ICAP in Zambia, a global health organization based at Columbia University. I asked him how women could lower the chances of developing cancer of the cervix.
So, cervical cancer is one of the most understood cancers in the world, actually. It's the primary risk factor for infection is persistent exposure to the human papillomavirus, HPV, specifically strains 16 and 18 that are termed high-risk HPV strains. So you find that this virus is transmitted during sexual intercourse, and naturally the immune system would clear out the virus naturally. Early stages, it's really asymptomatic, which underscores the need for routine screening. However, depending on the stage of the disease, women can experience some pain during sexual intercourse, pelvic pain, abnormal bleeding. There are some important risk factors for cervical cancer. So in terms of screening, there's a routine method that is used even in low and middle income settings, which is visual inspection with acetic acid. And then there is also the cytology, commonly known as pap smear. And then we now have HPV DNA testing, which is a relatively new testing modality for HPV screening that is actually more sensitive and specific than visual inspection. It is able to detect precancerous lesions. It is important that young girls get sexual and reproductive health information. There is sex education at a young age, so that they are conscientized about cervical cancer, they are conscientized about sex and the risks that come with unprotected sex. And then in terms of primary prevention, which is where our vaccination would come in, it's important that young girls are vaccinated for HPV. There are very good vaccines that are highly effective in preventing cervical cancer that girls can have access to.